Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual celebration of the 2020 National Urban Design Awards. This evening is presented in partnership with the Canadian Society of Landscape Architects and the Canadian Institute of Planners. My name is John Brown, and as president of the RAIC, I am truly honored to act as tonight's Master of Ceremonies. The mission of the RAIC is to promote excellence in the built environment, demonstrate how design enhances the quality of life, and advocate for socially and environmentally responsible architecture. Even though tonight's ceremony is virtual, the RAIC, CSLA, and CIP organizations operate out of Ottawa, Ontario. And I would like to take this time to recognize that Ottawa is located on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We extend our respect to all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples for their valuable past and present contributions to the land. Throughout the evening, we will be celebrating and hearing from the recipients of the awarded projects. The National Urban Design Awards showcase excellence in urban design, raise public awareness of the role of urban design in sustainability and quality of life in Canadian cities, and recognize the contributions of individuals, organizations, firms, and projects. This evening, we celebrate those who exemplify these goals both in the quality of their work and their huge personal commitment to achieving excellence. A special thanks to our jury, Susan Fitzgerald, Jean Trottier, and Doug Layton, for their invaluable work selecting the recipients for this year. I would also like to introduce my co-presenters for this evening, Hope Parnham, President of CSLA, and CIP President Dan Wong.
Good evening, and bienvenue à la cérémonie. My name is Hope Parnham, and I am the President of the Canadian Society of Landscape Architects. I'm speaking to you this evening from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, the traditional and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. I'm delighted to be attending the first ever virtual National Urban Design Awards ceremony with you this evening. But first, I would like to thank our partners and sponsors for the awards, the RAIC and CIP, and the jurors for the 2020 edition of the awards. Your collaboration and your support of these important awards is truly appreciated. The Canadian Society of Landscape Architects is the voice of the profession in Canada. The CSLA is an advocate for its members on issues such as urban design, urban renewal, sustainable development, human health and well-being, climate change, and cultural heritage. One of our core activities is recognizing member achievements through various awards programs, including tonight the NUDA's and the Governor General's Medal in Landscape Architecture. During the ceremony, you will see examples of design, stewardship, and management of the land that achieve environmental, social, and aesthetically pleasing spaces by investigating existing social, ecological, and geological conditions in the landscape and the built environment. From biodiversity corridors in a major urban municipality, to integrating urban spaces and health facilities, to revitalizing well-used outdoor spaces. These awards demonstrate the importance of design in making spaces healthier, relevant, and accessible for all Canadians. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Wong, and I'm the President of the Canadian Institute of Planners. It is an honor to join you virtually tonight from my home in Victoria, British Columbia, on the unceded traditional territories of the Lekwungen people, represented today by the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. This is a particularly challenging moment in time for Canada and the world as we navigate the pandemic and seek opportunities to continue to connect with one another. Over the past several months, in our professional capacity, we've all relied upon our knowledge, training, networks, and colleagues to ensure that our work is advanced and our values upheld. The same is true for our associations. At the Canadian Institute of Planners, we have really appreciated our close relationships with the Royal Architectural Institute of Canada and the Canadian Society of Landscape Architects. From sharing resources and information to teaming up on the Main Street Design Challenge with the Canadian Urbanism Institute, our allied professionals have excelled in collaborating and being there for one another throughout the pandemic. On behalf of the CIP, thank you to the RAIC and the CSLA for your enduring partnership during these challenging times. The National Urban Design Awards are yet another example of the strong relationship between Canada's leading design associations. Looking over the winning projects, they effectively showcase ingenuity, diversity, resiliency, and the groundbreaking work that is only achieved when we work together across professions and across the country. Congratulations to all the winners tonight, and thank you to all the volunteers, and also to the staff team for coordinating this important event. We know that by working together, the impossible becomes possible, and the improbable becomes certain. Best wishes for your health and well-being. Let us come out of the pandemic stronger and more resolved to create equitable, inclusive, and healthy spaces for all. Thank you, and enjoy the evening.
And finally, the REIC, CSLA, and CIP are pleased to recognize Equipark for sponsoring this evening's celebration and V2Com as our awards program media partner. I would also like to let you know that following this evening's awards, we will have a question and answer period for the recipients, and I invite you to stay and participate in the session. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the winning projects of the National Urban Design Awards for 2020.
Topographic urban expansion, a landscape armature on hillsides of Mexico City. The majority of urban expansion is happening in metropolitan peripheries of developing countries. Mexico City is one that has followed a similar urbanization path. As it continues to add its population, multiple factors and constraints have pushed developments to the hillsides of peripheries. Most of these developments are self-built irregular settlements. Because of incompletion and unsustainability of informal urbanization model on hillsides, people frequently lack basic services such as water supply and sanitation. 6 case study sites are analyzed, and Cerro Alpino would be the priority to be intervened because of its good access to public transportation and services. Based on current paradigm, irregular settlements will further creep up and cover the mountain. Vegetation loss put this place at high risk of mudslides during the rain season. People need to pay a quarter of their salaries relying on trucks and donkeys to transport water due to the poor water supply. All these issues plague the neighborhoods and make it unsuitable to live in. Through connecting and planting hydraulic buffers along steep slopes and introducing topographic interventions in connected belts of open space, it demarcates safe areas and keeps people away from dwelling in certain dangerous areas by employing mass vegetation and grading techniques. The project introduces a topographic landscape framework that acts as an armature meshwork, manages informal growth, and addresses needs of people in both existing and future neighborhoods through insertion of diverse amenities. These hubs create a social encounter point for residents to meet and share public water amenities. Manipulate landform to nurture crops with water-efficient measures and bring back native vegetation that has been lost in the rapid process of urbanization. It strives to find a preemptive way to support and sustain the inevitability of future informal growth and create an armature system that benefits marginalized communities and the mountain ecosystem in the long run.
The Mechanized River Valley Access is an initiative of the City of Edmonton with full design services provided by Dialogue's project team of integrated disciplines. The North Saskatchewan River Valley is the birthplace of Edmonton and home to Indigenous peoples for millennia. The city has long sought to provide an accessible connection between downtown and the river valley. A network of roadways and a steep elevation change have cut off downtown from the valley. The steep slopes are part of its great beauty, but makes access difficult for users with mobility challenges. Many options for barrier-free access were explored within this sensitive area of the valley. The road network and the changes in grade did not allow a funicular to connect directly from the top of the bank to the valley floor. The team explored several iterations that allowed both the stair and the funicular to engage and respect the existing slope, while at the same time provide a dramatic experience. The alignment on the right was selected for further development and implementation. More than simply an infrastructure and accessibility project, The team saw this as an opportunity to emphasize placemaking and the improvement of the public realm. We will take you on that journey over the next several slides from the top of the valley to the river's edge.
At the top of the bank, the promontory acts as an extension of 100th Streets and provides panoramic views of the valley below. The funicular runs between this top promontory and a promenade midway along the valley slope. This inclined elevator allows people of all abilities to traverse the steep grade easily. Flanking the funicular is a broad urban staircase, Edmonton's answer to the Spanish Steps. Not just stairs, this is a place to sit, to socialize, and to enjoy the views. The steps in the funicular descend onto a promenade that follows an existing slope bench about halfway down the valley. Playful eye-catching public art by Jill Anholt is incorporated into the sunny lawn area. The bridge reconnects the pedestrian network severed by the roadway. Traffic disappears. The southern extension of the bridge rises gently, an astonishing 19-meter cantilever out over the river valley offers a bird's eye view. The lookout is named for preeminent landscape architect Frederick G. Todd, whose vision for the river valley over 100 years ago set the stage for this project. To complete the barrier-free journey to the river valley, a class elevator and stairs lead down from the lookout to the trail system below.
Descending into the river valley is an engaging, multi-dimensional experience for people of all abilities. This is a remarkable urban space defined by placemaking and delight throughout all seasons.
So 18 Shades of Gay is a temporary installation made out of a 180,000 resin ball suspended over Rue Sainte-Catherine East in downtown Montreal. It is part of Air Libre, a cultural happening that transformed the street into a pedestrian mall during the summer from May to September, so for 5 months. Inspired by the LGBTQI community flag, the pastel promenade celebrates the evolving spectrum of identity, plural, diverse, inclusive, and nuanced. A succession of 6 principal colors, each in 3 distinct hues, combine to form the 18 shades. The 1 kilometer-long uninterrupted gesture creates a strong visual identity for the village by marking threshold at both ends, from Rue Saint-Hubert to Rue Cartier, and at the 12 intersecting cross streets. It also provides a metropolitan landing for 3 major subway stations connecting to the city. 18 Shade is the flamboyant transformation of its pink ball predecessor, also by our firm, installed annually from 2011 to 2016. Vibrant both day and night, the full chromatic spectrum promenade gives tone to the different zones of the village, creating new color landmarks for locals and tourists who can now use colors as georeference points. The suspended canopy integrates the street natural foliage with a blast of artificial blossom and is further enhanced by potted weeping willows to reinforce a relaxed summery mood. It provides a positive, unusual, and joyful experience of color while modulating light and shadow as pedestrians stroll underneath the installation. Installed overhead to maintain an unencumbered streetscape, the installation needs to creatively integrate functional and public safety constraints, such as police and fire standards, as well as accommodating all the urban functions associated with a street, such as morning deliveries, terraces, etc. It also allows various kinds of uses, such as art fair, art festival, sidewalk sale, and it encourages spontaneous act of appropriation, sociability, and voluntarism. 2 sides of ball are used to create a pointillism impression. They are suspended from a strand of nylon wire 5 meters above the street and attached to steel cable on aluminum posts on each side of the street. The project was initiated by the Business Association of the village, the SDC du Village. It was born from a desire to counter years of decline in the neighborhood caused by increasing socioeconomic problems, resulting in a decreased sense of safety and of belonging for locals. From pink balls to 18 shades, The project optimized a small budget to renew perception of the village, sparking an economic and social turning point, evidenced by a reduction in vacancy rate. Encouraging all kinds of users to enjoy the street, it acts as a social catalyst that illustrates James Jacobs' vision that cities have the capability of providing something for everybody, only because and only when they are created by everybody. The balls are locally manufactured from recycled plastic and reassembled on string every year. The integration of community members from manufacturing, assembly to installation was key to activate social and physical development of the era. The installation had to be complete within a short time frame over 7 days at the beginning of spring without compromising the function of the street and its non-stop flow of pedestrians. It has created an iconic image for the village as well as for the city of Montreal, attracting international media, more visits by local and tourists, and an overall improvement in the reputation of the neighborhood. In 2018, the installation was used to advertise Montreal to the Toronto, New York, and California market through the We've Got Ball campaign, highlighting the audacious side of Montreal. So over the years, the balls have become a strong symbolic support of community identity and its evolving narrative, showing that positive contribution to the public realm can also trigger constructive change to social and symbolic realms. 2019 was the year of the last edition of 18 Shades, designed from the outset to be presented for only one season. Due to its success, the project would have finally spread over 9 years, including its pink phase. So in order to pay tribute to the enthusiasm of the public for them and to the great feeling of appropriation of which they were the object throughout the 9th edition, the threads of multicolor ball were put on sale to the general public and outsold very quickly. The revenue generated went directly to the SDC du Village, which donated part of it to local LGBTQI community group, as well as fund the new temporary project that will take place in the next years. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the RAIC for finding creative ways to gather together and celebrate the work that is being done across Canada that recognizes the myriad of possibilities through design and the impacts it has on community building. I would also like to recognize the wonderful souls that make up the team at Sputnik Architecture, Inc. Thank you all for being you. When we started the Warming Huts project, we were excited to design and build small projects that in their own right would have small impacts on the people who might experience them. We quickly realized that we had an idea that hardly required explaining, and therefore anyone involved understood implicitly what the project's objectives are. We have been fortunate witnesses to this phenomenon for the past 11 years. Any place wishing to develop a project that shares the kind of success Warming Huts has experienced needs to keep a few key rules in mind. The project needs to be locally authentic. For Winnipeg, this meant coming to terms with the bitter cold. We did not try to correct the cold, we found a way to embrace the cold for what it is. Cold is simply a lack of warmth, so we added warmth. The project succeeded also through the power of taking consistent, small, forward steps. When this is done collectively, not only by organizations like the Forks, but when an entire population embraces a concept and begins to move its way of thinking one experience at a time, then lasting change occurs. Finally, the project was allowed to adapt. As the Warming Huts have evolved over the years, we have avoided trying to curate the project in such a way that a particular agenda might surface. Instead, the canvas each year is clean, and designers around the world have chosen for themselves what may matter most. In this was the myriad of submissions that are at once a kaleidoscope and at the same time a microscope for current affairs.
Ce plan d'intervention vise l'amélioration du confort et de la sécurité des piétons et des cyclistes dans le Vieux-Québec, un quartier historique et à vocation touristique au centre de la ville de Québec. L'approche collaborative intègre un groupe de travail qui a servi de noyau décisionnel tout au long du processus. Les membres de ce groupe étaient des résidents du secteur, des membres du conseil de quartier local, des associations de commerçants, ainsi que des acteurs scolaires. Basé sur l'approche des rues conviviales, Complete Streets, le plan d'intervention repose sur des constats découlant d'une analyse multicritère. Le plan sert d'outil d'aide à la décision et à la conception dans les travaux d'aménagement dans le quartier. Concrètement, le plan détermine et priorise les réaménagements en rues conviviales, grâce notamment à l'élaboration de familles de rues selon leur rôle dans le secteur. La conception repose sur des analyses terrain intégrant des indicateurs reliés au transport actif et à la sécurité des piétons et des cyclistes, au cadre urbain, aux générateurs de déplacement, aux équipements socio-communautaires et à la santé publique. Une grande préoccupation pour l'accessibilité universelle est aussi intégrée. Il permet l'identification des parcours piétons et cyclistes principaux prioritaires, prenant aussi en compte les différents circuits culturels et touristiques reconnus. Ce plan permet de déterminer les nouvelles typologies de rues, rues partagées, rues résidentielles, rues flexibles et voies de desserte locales. En s'associant avec les intervenants clés des disciplines variées comme la mobilité durable, le paysage, le design urbain, l'architecture, le patrimoine et les déplacements actifs, l'équipe a réussi à intégrer une approche participative et de co-design dans l'élaboration d'un plan complet d'intervention sur ce secteur du Vieux-Québec. Ainsi, chaque rue possède son propre plan d'intervention selon ses caractéristiques et son usage, permettant même des configurations flexibles selon les saisons et l'activité touristique à Québec. Finalement, le plan est opérationnalisé par un plan de mise en œuvre sur un horizon de 15 ans. Ce plan introduit aussi les interventions transitoires ou tactiques comme méthode graduelle de mise en place des mesures proposées. Le plan d'intervention pour la sécurité et le confort des piétons et des cyclistes dans le Vieux-Québec permettra à la Ville d'arrimer la planification et la réalisation des travaux d'aménagement urbain dans le secteur à l'intérieur d'une vision globale. Ce plan permettra aussi d'identifier et de prioriser les interventions pouvant contribuer à une amélioration de la qualité de vie des résidents, des travailleurs et des touristes en lien avec le réseau d'espaces publics et les générateurs et attracteurs de déplacement actifs.
Well, I'd like to first thank the Royal Architectural Institute of Canada, the Canadian Institute of Planners, Canadian Society of Landscape Architects, members of the jury, and the donors who have made this day possible. Additionally, I would like to thank Julian Stacey, Joanne Simmons, and Jamie Watt, whom I worked with closely at Casey House to help realize their vision of what this institution could be. Deeply thrilled and honored to receive this very prestigious award. However, this moment is much bigger than me. You can imagine it's really about an offering, a dignified space and a comfortable environment to those affected with HIV/AIDS, and an opportunity to pay tribute to the founder of Casey House, the wonderful June Callwood. The idea of embrace, the idea that an old home could be embraced around a new hospital, around a courtyard. This is the top floor where 14 rooms around a central courtyard space. It's one of the early sketches where it comes up and over the heritage home, have presence, but at the same time you're behind this wonderful stately mansion. You have this sense of green, this sense of light, this sense of life affirmation within the courtyard, and the courtyard in the center. And this model showing how there's transparency across the community, so creating a sense of community, a sense of support, sense of life, sense of light, sense of privacy. Studies showing how this sliver courtyard would introduce light, and then the final form and the transparency across is really very important, the sense of green and the sense of delight for a hospital environment. And the story about the quilt, the sense of support, the sense of community, the sense of binding, comes out of the story of the quilt. Everybody has an individual story, but together they have a strength, and that we could maybe give expression to the outside of this building through this idea of quilt. And you can see that here next in the model studies and then final studies, the elevation, and then using different types of brick, reclaimed, heritage, old, new, stone, that becomes the quilt from the outside, part of the story. And how the light would penetrate through. There's a whole sustainability story, how important all of those elements within the building grew out of a respect for the environment, and that light coming into the middle of the building through and above and around. And there's an example of what that looks like on the inside. And the home, this idea that a hospital could be a home, working, this is the patient room, the final expression of that, use of natural materials, quite a struggle in an immune challenged environment. Some of the open kitchen areas, open lounge areas. So this idea that a hospital could feel like a home. And of course, the old and the new, and retaining the heritage and bringing back the heritage, working very closely with ERA architects who we have enjoyed many, many years of collaboration with, which I think you can see really gives both a sense of dignity and presence to Casey House, but a sense of privacy and interiority, which was so important to the Casey House people, a sense of home. So reflecting on this emotional 10-year journey to realize this project, I think for me, really, I love the idea that everything began with this embrace that June Callwood, without the hazmat suit, gave to one of the first patients of AIDS. What a courageous act that was. And what a testament to really caring, such an important part of, I think, what we love about the city of Toronto. And it's very powerful that she started this space with the goal of simply taking care of people with this horrible disease. And that spirit has found its expression. And I love the fact that this is an urban design award that has found its expression in a city that is so good. I think always everything can be improved, but is so good at caring. And it's also a testament to Toronto, and that is the power of caring. So thank you very much for this award. And thank you to the people at Casey House.
Welcome to Casey House, Ontario's HIV/AIDS hospital. This award celebrates our good friend, Sia Macareri, and the team at HPA for the design. Congratulations. You have done more than simply build a hospital. You helped create an environment where we have the opportunity to transform lives. One can feel it in every corner of the building. No detail was too small to think about the client experience. The space respects clients' needs for community, their trauma, and for some, their last moments of life, with a view to the sky and clouds. As our founder, June Callwood, said, we are taking care of people who need it in ways they can't accept. We are thankful we had the right partners and community to create an award-winning, beautiful space in which we are able to provide our compassionate, judgment-free care. With thanks, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
It's a great privilege to be here. On behalf of our team and colleagues, thank you to the organizers of this award, to the Royal Architectural Institute of Canada and its partners.
The Biodiversity Corridor is located in the northwest end of the island of Montreal, Quebec. With 19 hectares of biodiversity reservoir and over 6 kilometers length, the corridor has an impressive potential within the larger context of Montreal's metropolitan area. Today, the borough features highly monofunctional sectors and homogeneous landscapes, 83% of impermeable surfaces, and a prevalence of car over slow mobility. Despite the severe loss of vegetated areas, there are valuable yet fragmented habitats. The strategy to tackle these issues is based on 4 pillars to be implemented simultaneously: protection of the existing habitats, creation of new habitats, connectivity, and polyvalence. By introducing micro-topographies and humida habitats, the master plan promotes the growth of different native plantings, activating environmental connections at territorial scale. The corridor supports the presence of pollinators and offers a new network of habitats for local and migrating fauna. The Biodiversity Corridor is a true green, blue, and social infrastructure. While starting ecological processes, it also delivers social benefits to the community.
Moving through the different environments, beginning from the north of the Biodiversity Corridor, a multi-use overpass above the railway line links the corridor to the nature parks and to the river. Linear landscape, recognizable by their undulating surfaces, will offer visitors, citizens, and workers sheltered spaces to relax and enjoy the flowery meadows, seasons, and birds and insects in their new habitats. Reduced street widths, bioswales, along with new connecting paths are all part of the new corridor. Selected street closings will allow free movements to small animals, relinking and enriching separated environments, strengthening the biodiversity potential of the existing forest. Wet basins, bioretention basins, will be implemented to ensure better connection between nearby wetlands and existing retention basins. This emblematic perspective shows how the wasteland under the existing overhead power lines will be transformed into a new, diverse landscape that supports all forms of life being. Thank you.
The project is located in Broward County, Florida. The land of the county used to be part of the Everglades, which is a complex regional wetland system. Due to the low-lying land, the local drainage system constantly discharges water to the Everglades. The ecosystem has been immensely disturbed by the water runoff. Based on research, we found most of the nutrients come from the town of Southwest ranches. Plantations, nurseries, and horse ranches are major industries of the town and also an important part of their culture. This project envisions to mitigate the negative impact to the Everglades with respect to local context and lifestyle. Our main concept is to increase the time of concentration within watersheds by strategically adding water treatment space on different land types through zoning ordinances. This will become a drainage filter framework, which is a cost-efficient supplement to the current expensive treatment infrastructure inside the Everglades.
The framework is conceived to be implemented in 3 phases. The first phase is to build the fundamental skeleton of the filter system. Bioswales are integrated into the right-of-ways and the easement areas to treat and direct runoff. The current vacant properties will be transformed into the pocket wetlands to enhance the performance gains. In the third phase, the green infrastructure continues to be an integral part of the future built form, which offers a unique living experience. Starting from the second phase, the owners of the ranches and the nurseries are responsible for installing pre-treatment areas. In the PUD zone, a vegetated buffer is required to mitigate nutrient concentration in the lakes, which provides scenic landscape value. The drainage filter framework maintains, protects, and promotes the rural and equestrian culture, and is highly resilient and adaptable to exchange in the environment.
Berksy Park is a small park on the threshold of 3 downtown neighborhoods that was revitalized to address new community needs that were never anticipated when the park was first built almost 45 years ago. A dog-spirited genius loci has permeated Berksy Park for years. The fountain manifests this, along with the countless daily dog visits and the park's history as the birthplace of Woofstock, North America's largest annual festival for dogs. Now, the park is named after William Berksy, who arrived in Toronto in 1793 as an early Toronto builder. And the site used to be occupied by a number of stately buildings, which were demolished in the 60s and 70s to create a large series of parking lots on which Berksy Park was eventually first constructed. Berksy Park is constructed in three parts. One is a green space for play. Another is a garden for dogs. And the third is a plaza for public gathering. And the fountain provides a common denominator to create a singular experience across these different uses. The fountain embraces the accoutrement of canine culture. The custom cast fountain incorporates 27 life-size and realistically rendered sculptures of dogs, gazing towards a golden bone at the top of the fountain. And there are also a couple of cats and some birds for them as well. The casting process used digital tools to scan, enlarge, and cut the models that would form the molds for the dog casts, and a few others were sculpted by hand in the essence of time. The two-tier fountain was cast and assembled, and the nozzles were set into the dogs with mock-ups established to test fit and water effects. The lighting borrows from the language of the Old Town neighborhood around the park, and is deployed to amplify the illuminated presence of the fountain in the center of the plaza. It was important to get the trees right, and an investment in soil cells resulted in a phenomenal elm alley that also helps with stormwater management. For example, all of the surface runoff off the plaza is intercepted and diverted to irrigate the continuous soil volumes below the ground. The park is designed to watch the theater of the city, and a wide range of seating is available, from movable chairs to long church pew-like community benches. The paving pattern of the plaza is composed of a skewed checkerboard with hues inspired by the colors of the beloved public art piece at the back of the adjacent Flatiron building. Scott Street, just west of the park, was reconsidered and incorporated into the park to become an amenity. The curves were removed to create a democratic plane and elevate the pedestrian priority to create an extra surface in the park for additional programming possibilities. The public response to Berksy Park has been phenomenal, as a place for people to interact and play with the fountain, as well as for spontaneous outbursts of conversations between strangers. This small space has a big presence, and the design of the skewed perspectives and stretched diagonals, these enhance the illusion of a park, making it feel even bigger. The scale, materials, and detailing at Berksy Park were intended to create a place that would encourage people to give in and let themselves feel good. And this is something that we've been able to witness since the park has opened.
Downtown Winnipeg's Northeast Exchange District is filled with historic warehouse architecture, mid-century institutions, and growing infill development. Previously underutilized and occasionally unsafe, its public realm hadn't been addressed in many decades and did not reflect the mini-renaissance the private realm was experiencing. Many aspects were reaching the end of their serviceable life cycle, including public streets, lanes, plazas and parks, lighting, site furniture, underground services, and urban forestry. The goal of the project was to transform the aging public realm of the East Exchange into a cohesive, fun, safe, and engaging urban district that supports modern live-work-play expectations. The project also needed to expose and celebrate the unique culture and history of one of Canada's oldest intact warehouse districts. We worked together across disciplines, stakeholders, programmers, and funding agencies to deliver an integrated and cost-effective urban renewal program, including integrating business and art support agencies such as Centre Venture and the Winnipeg Arts Council into the process as equal partners, leading with livable streets urban design principles rather than individual engineering considerations, developing an overall vision for the district's public realm, including guiding principles, an urban realm palette, an integrated design construction model, and seasonal programming, and breaking up implementation into multiple phased projects. The outcome is an exciting, contextual, and active urban realm that appeals to locals and tourists alike. The $14 million investment over 6 years has translated into more than $100 million of private investment towards building infill and adaptive reuse in the exchange. In the same time period, more than 2,000 new residents have moved to the district. The project has introduced new ways of delivering holistic, cost-effective, and sustainable public realm projects at the City of Winnipeg. It demonstrates a resilient, durable, and sustainable public realm able to mitigate growing climate extremes. Its public life has grown to include events initiated by local businesses and neighborhood groups of all kinds, cementing its place as one of the most happening neighborhoods in Winnipeg.
The 4th Street Southwest Underpass Enhancement Project, located in Calgary, Alberta, is an integrated public art and urban infrastructure project intended to improve a key pedestrian gateway to Calgary's city centre. The project itself is a response to the concerns for pedestrian safety, infrastructure deterioration, and began as part of the Centre City Underpass Enhancement Program initiated by the City of Calgary. The 4th Street Southwest Underpass is one of 9 underpasses experiencing improvements in the city, all intended to strengthen the connection between adjacent communities. The vision of this program is to transform an ordinary space into an extraordinary experience. Although these underpasses were initially conceived as a mechanism for safe movement between the Beltline and downtown, they have ironically come to embody some of the most uncomfortable of Calgary's public spaces and have become a barrier to the city's thriving public realm. The existing condition of the 2-block stretch of the 4th Street Southwest Underpass was no exception, with its poor lighting, limited accessibility, inactive edges, and overall state of physical disrepair. In response, the 4th Street Southwest Underpass Enhancement Project is founded on the notion of reclaiming the space of removal as a space for conversation. The introduction of animated light and color that responds to the flow of people through the space ensures the underpass experience becomes evocative, varied, and timeless. By augmenting spatial experiences latent in the existing site's physical geometry, both the urban design and public art are understood as part of Calgarians' everyday experience. Through public engagement, interested members of the public were given opportunities to participate in the creative process, to identify issues within the existing site, find collective solutions, and influence the project both as a process and a product. The development of models and mock-ups throughout the design phases served as key tools for both coordinating with consultants and suppliers, as well as communicating the feasibility of the project. The project was a collaboration between the Marc Boutin Architectural Collaborative and public artist Christophe Wodichko. And we'd like to recognize and thank Christophe and Invivia, the team that delivered the public art. We'd also like to acknowledge the entire design team for their role on this project. And of course, this project was only possible through the vision of the City of Calgary, to make the ordinary extraordinary. And we thank the city for their sponsorship and stewardship of this project. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Tyler Sharp, and I am Principal and Design Director at RDH Architects. And I'm going to be speaking about our Springdale Library and Kamagata Maru Park. I would first like to take a moment to thank the distinguished jury for selecting our project to receive this award. It's a great honor. Next, I'd like to thank the sort of overall project team, beginning with City of Brampton Project Manager Mike Ferraro, and the members of the Brampton Library Design Team, including former CEO Rebecca Raven, Michael Georgie, and Susan Bartoletto. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the RDHA team, including my partners, Bob Goyesh and Jeff Miller, and the project manager, Sanjoy Powell, and all of the other RDHA individuals that had a hand in shaping this building throughout its development. The Springdale Library is a 25,000 square foot public branch library set within a new neighborhood park that includes spaces for a splash pad, a play area, open green areas, and a series of terraced contemplative gardens. The project utilizes a kind of organic design approach in terms of the urban design, the development of the landscape, and the architecture of the library. These organic geometries are used to organize the spaces of the park and are drawn into the form of the architecture in terms of the planning and the sectional variations found within the topography, the floor slab, the ceiling, and the roof. The fluid geometries are used to sculpt the programs and spaces of the park, control rainwater, and to internally shape various architectural spaces within the library. The overall aspiration for this project is to provide an alternative form of expression for the kind of public architecture, landscape, and urban design found within the typical North American suburban context. Thank you very much.
I would like to once again congratulate all our winners this evening. I want to thank you all for joining us here this evening to celebrate the National Urban Design Awards. I would like to personally invite you to attend tomorrow's celebration of the RAIC Annual Awards, which will include a retrospective presentation on this year's RAIC Gold Medal winner, Blanche Lemko Van Ginkel, and presentations by RAIC President's Medal recipients. Thank you and have a great evening.